Good morning and good afternoon. Bonjour à tous. My name is Kayla Isabel and I'm the CEO of Startup Canada. I am delighted to welcome all of you here today for our final event of what we're now calling Small Business Month. To begin, I'd like to acknowledge that the land on which I am on today is located on the unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. I also acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of all Indigenous peoples. We'd like to encourage each and every one of you to take a moment now to acknowledge the land that you are residing on today. This year's Startup Gov program is one of Startup Canada's flagship initiatives with a mandate to provide every entrepreneur with a voice to government to create the conditions necessary for entrepreneurial success in Canada. As many of you saw last week, we hosted a series of inspiring events in celebration of Small Business Week, ranging from the importance of women entrepreneurship domestically and internationally, provincial focuses on innovation and disruption, and how support organizations are ramping up their programs to scale Canadian businesses, to the pressing issues from the perspectives of local entrepreneurial communities. We covered a tremendous amount of ground during a very short period of time. To finalize our speaker series, we are delighted to host a conversation today in partnership with our friends at UPS, focused on small and medium-sized business growth and how to unlock opportunities through e-commerce, arguably one of the most important topics during the pandemic and as we look at economic recovery. None of this would be possible, however, without our key ecosystem partners, including our co-presenting partners, UPS and Intuit QuickBooks, national partners, MasterCard, BDC, and the Trade Commission Service, community partners, Scotiabank, Google, NACA, and the Village Hive, and our event partner for our event today, Magnet. Thank you so much for all of your effort in championing the needs of Canada's entrepreneurs to government and beyond. Today, I am joined by an esteemed panel who will be diving into a series of themes like top challenges in the context of e-commerce trade, regional and global export trends, possible solutions to challenges identified, and the opportunities as it relates to e-commerce, and there are many. I am delighted to introduce a dear friend of mine and of the Startup Canada team, Paul Gaspar, Director of Small Business at UPS Canada, who will officially get things started for today. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Kayla. Appreciate the introduction. And as you can see, I'm proudly wearing my Startup Canada colors today as well.
We love it. We love to see it.
Well, good day, everyone, and thank you for joining our panel discussion, Supporting SMB Growth, Unlocking Opportunities Through E-Commerce. As Kayla indicated, my name is Paul Gaspar, and I am the Director for Small Business at UPS Canada. The COVID-19 crisis has created unprecedented challenges and uncertainty for small business and medium-sized businesses. With the rapid shift towards e-commerce, many SMBs have had to swiftly expand to their online operations. This has been challenging for many SMBs as they had to tackle cash flow and supply chain disruptions caused by the pandemic. In many economies, just like here in Canada, SMBs are significant employers and engines of economic growth, and therefore their survival during the pandemic is vital. As a global leader in logistics, UPS, in partnership with Nathan Associates, embarked on a survey to assess the impact of the pandemic on SMBs in 9 regionally diverse, developed, and developing countries, including India, Indonesia, Italy, Mexico, Spain, the UAE, UK, Vietnam, and of course, Canada. The insights derived from the survey informed the development of policy recommendations geared toward government stakeholders in each of these markets to support the growth of e-commerce and international trade activities for SMBs. The main survey topics included top challenges SMBs faced as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, top challenges in the context of e-commerce trade, e-commerce regional and global export trends, specific barriers for e-commerce exports, and barriers for SMBs in expanding to online trade. The report developed from the survey is sectioned into chapters focused on findings from each country, and each chapter ends with policy recommendations based on the challenges identified by the SMBs surveyed. These tailored recommendations identified key areas where new policies could make a difference, including expanding outreach to SMBs, reforming customs and taxes, and helping SMBs utilize existing trade agreements. Today, we will focus on Canada, and I'd like to welcome today's panel to discuss and provide their insight on challenges, solutions, and opportunities for those who have acted on or are considering more robust e-commerce strategies. So please help me welcome our panel of experts. First, from eBay Canada, we're glad to have join us their general manager, Rob Bigler. From the EDC, we've got Robert Fosco, who's the Vice President of Partner Channel and Knowledge Services for EDC. And of course, Sarah Wilshaw, Chief Trade Commissioner of Canada and Assistant Deputy Minister, International Development, Business Development, Global Affairs Canada. So as you can see, we've got a great panel with us. So please welcome everyone, and thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge and insights on the important topic that is e-commerce. Now, before we get started, I want to mention to our audience that we will be taking questions from you, but through YouTube only. So please, if you have any questions that you'd like us to tackle, please pose your questions there. All right, everyone ready? All right, let's dive right into it. So first, I would like to have us focus on the challenges and what we're hearing from SMBs. So Robert, I'm going to throw this first one to you. EDC conducts and gathers a lot of insights from Canadian SMBs. So what are some of the top challenges that you have seen that SMBs faced as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thanks, Paul. Well, first of all, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. It's a pleasure to be here. And I just want to say congratulations to Kayla and the whole startup team for this great event and a whole week of events. Really honored to be here with you all today. And Paul, just congratulations to you on a phenomenal report. Hopefully everybody gets a chance to read it on the various challenges and opportunities in many markets around the world. So back to your question on overall general challenges that companies have faced. So yeah, you're right. At EDC, Canada's Export Credit Agency, we survey many of our customers very regularly. And during the pandemic, what we've seen is much of what you're in report as well, Paul. I would say there are two broad categories of challenges, and I would call one in the business disruption category and the other one cash flow challenges. Business disruption, obviously, right from the get-go, lockdowns and reduced travel, inability to see clients, restrictions, quarantine issues. Also, from an employee side, employees, fearful of getting sick. There were shutdowns of companies right at the beginning. So all of those business disruptions that persisted were, very acute at the beginning, but persisted throughout. And then we have the category of what I call supply chain logistics. Trouble getting your goods to port. Delays at the ports. So inability to fulfill orders was huge. And in fact, CFIB did a study, and what they found is 1 in 3 businesses have said that their unfilled orders has been higher than it's ever been throughout this period. So container shortages, slowdowns at ports, all of that business disruption. And then when it comes to the labor market, shortages, later on in the pandemic and up to today, we're seeing finding the right talent was a challenge. Labor shortages, that's continuing. Now, let's not kid ourselves. The shortages started way before the pandemic. Things that we've seen from a business disruption that people said was very acute for them. And then there's what I call them cash flow. I was about to call them financial challenges, but let's face it, they're all financial challenges when you're a small business and trying to make ends meet. But really, the cash flow challenges were companies postponing mandates, clients postponing mandates, not being able to pay, deferring orders. Some of these small businesses had to leverage, leverage government programs that were out there at the time. We all know that the consumer-facing businesses bore the brunt of the COVID-19 challenges, and so that was what we found. They've accumulated debt throughout. I referenced the CFIB survey. In fact, half of the business owners that were surveyed said that they had to borrow, because they had to borrow through the crisis, had to maybe reduce salaries or look at that going forward. So all of these cash flow challenges were first and foremost. And I know maybe we'll talk a little bit later about some of the solutions for that and more specifically about e-commerce challenges, but I'll leave it at that for now. Oh, maybe one more.
It's a great start.
Inflation. Yeah, inflation.
Yes.
And cost of inputs was huge, and as we hear even this week, it's not looking like that's going to get any better. So stop there. Thanks,
That's true. No, great points to start off, Robert. So I'm going to go from Robert to Rob. So Rob, we know that eBay is a global e-commerce leader that connects millions of buyers and sellers in more than 190 markets around the world, supporting not just consumers, but small businesses every day. So in the context of e-commerce trade, can you provide an overview of the top challenges that you're seeing?
Absolutely. And similar to Robert, just want to say thank you. Thank you to Kayla, to Startup, and it's just great to be here, but also a fantastic program supporting small businesses across Canada. eBay really prides itself on helping Canadian small businesses sell to the world. Stay local, sell global, is what we like to say. And thanks, Paul, for your partnership. I know we work quite a bit with UPS, with all the carriers. You can't export to the world. You can't cross Canada without the support of postal and couriers, etc. So thank you for the partnership. Back to the question on the impact that e-commerce has faced. I mean, I think a lot of it comes back to what Robert was saying. It's the same challenges, whether you're traditional, e-com, what have you. I know the UPS report talked about the challenges of attracting new customers, packaging and shipping, marketing, advertising. These are challenges that retailers and small businesses face on e-commerce, period. I think it just got accelerated. I think the biggest challenge through the pandemic, as it relates to e-commerce, is that paradigm shift. That shift of small business where they had to go online, or if they were online, maybe they had to shift how they were thinking about it. So I've got this store, I've got all this square footage, and then many, I love, it's great talking to Canadian small businesses. It's the favorite part of my job because you see how nimble they are. You see how they adapt a storefront and they change it. And now those are picking locations. They used to be racks, but now it's a picking location and they've adapted. The other part is they've thought about, it's no longer bricks versus clicks. Like for a long time, it was bricks versus clicks. And, I'm not going to go to e-com, or e-com's going to ruin my business. And now everybody has said, it's bricks and clicks. E-commerce is that multi-channel, that omni-channel route out to customers. And so if the biggest challenge is finding new customers, what a lot of small businesses in Canada found was e-commerce allows them to find new customers, but they thought it's more than just my website. There's other channels. There's my store. There's my own website. And then there's marketplaces. There's other channels that they can go. And a lot of small businesses found eBay or the marketplace, but eBay, I can talk to that, as a channel to the world, right? Mm-hmm. Where all of a sudden they had access to eBay's 150 million buyers. All of a sudden they found themselves, oh my gosh, I'm shipping to South Africa and Australia and the US. The US is huge on eBay. We help Canadian small businesses ship hundreds of millions of dollars south of the border and abroad, further abroad, but it's a massive market. And so I love living in Canada, beautiful, but we can live here and export to the world if you think about that paradigm shift of it's not just my store, it's my store. Sorry, I'm talking about I always think about opportunities. You want to challenge us, Paul. So the challenge is the paradigm shift in your head of a small business. But small businesses are incredibly dynamic. They do shift, but that shift to thinking, how do I use other channels? And then that's diversifying their portfolio too. If you think about that from an investment perspective, they've got their store, which is great and it's fun and people are coming in and you talk to the community. They've got their local website, they've got Facebook, then they've got eBay selling to the world, it just diversifies. So if one goes down, you got the other ones coming in. And we found through the pandemic that we had a 50% increase in small businesses selling online through eBay. And of those, all of them were seeing double-digit growth. Like, I love the stories. And the team, my team, like, I'm getting ahead, but we're through, like, we had an up and running program where we jumped in to like waive fees, like help with cash flow, do all that, you know, so that we could help small businesses get online and overcome that challenge of how do I get online.
That's perfect, and I love that. Stay local, go global. So I've been taking notes, and I'm starting to realize I'm going to run out of paper before we're done here, which is great. So Sarah, I want to come to you now. I'm hoping you can jump in and maybe provide us with an overview of e-commerce, I guess, from a regional as well as a global export trend.
Sure, happy to. And you know what? I love that stay local, go global. That's going to be like the new mantra. I don't know. We tend to go with everywhere you export for the Trade Commissioner Service, but you know, it's the whole point is that we help Canadian businesses to grow in Canada and to stay in Canada and to get all these great things that we produce out to the world. So that's really awesome. Paul, it's great to be here with you. Fantastic report from UPS. We really rely on those kinds of inputs for us to help make our service better and more responsive to what the businesses need to succeed. And Kayla and team, fantastic week of all kinds of events and information being shared. So really exciting to be here in the extended week. I think you're going to need more than a week next time to really cover all the ground here. But I want to go back just really quick to what Robert said about nimble, and particularly about small businesses being nimble, because truly, I think the word of the COVID era was the pivot, right? And it was all about how businesses pivoted or could pivot. Those that could pivot did, and were really successful and could be really successful on through e-commerce channels in particularly. So certainly as we were all at home, kind of surfing the net and also trying to get our things set up. I think of all the things I ordered during the sort of height of the pandemic that I needed just to even set up my home office. I needed one of those tabletop sit stands. I needed a ring light. I needed like all these things that I could, I never even thought I would need at home, but that's what people were doing. And then their kids, I've got 2 kids who were doing school at home, so they needed some tools and some, the new iPads and things like that. So like lots and lots of stuff got ordered, and really drove this demand. So you want to know about the trends, and I'll give you some numbers and things that might sort of stand out here. But primarily it was consumer products, agri-food, and actually natural health products that so maybe people started to take a little more care of themselves during the pandemic, or at least think about that a little bit. That's all on the positive side. I should mention, because it's really important, particularly for small business, but the impact was, we know, especially acute and disproportionately affected women, youth, and all kinds of underrepresented groups, including Indigenous entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs, and others. So just having the opportunity to grow through e-commerce, I think really opens the door for a lot of those groups. It's accessibility and kind of lowering that barrier to entry, but not wanting to get too much into those kind of opportunities. In terms of the e-trends, online retail sales, according to eMarketer, $6.3 trillion by the end of this year, with e-commerce taking around roughly 22% of total retail sales. That's massive. And even though retail had a kind of a tough year in 2020, to say the least, huge double-digit e-commerce growth. Latin America saw growth in the I think one of the highest rates, 36.7%, despite a 3.5% overall drop in retail sales. So that shows you something. China leads the world in global e-commerce sales. Total sales just under the $2.8 trillion mark. Has the world's most digital buyers, 795 million, roughly 33% of the global total, and set to be the first country in history to transact more than half of its retail sales online. 52% happening through e-commerce. So pretty big stats, and those are big numbers. And the U.S. right behind, $843 billion in the e-commerce market. It's less than a third of China's, but catching up fast. And the UK is also there. And these are three of our top four trading partners globally. So things to think about. Japan also, really big. Three of the top five markets are part of the Asia Pacific region. So we're seeing, move in that direction, and we really want to focus on that. We've got some strategies coming forward to kind of boost the presence of Canada in the Indo-Pacific, in the Asia Pacific region. But in terms of Canada, a lot of our businesses shifted to e-commerce, and now e-commerce is around 6.3% of domestic retail sales. That was 2020. It's up, but it's incremental. So I think there's like a lot of room for folks to grow their retail online and through e-commerce channels, and certainly used e-commerce to make up a lot of export sales. So 58.7% of exporters that we talk to have made some e-commerce export sales in the last 12 months. So there's some facts and figures for you, but it all points in a really interesting direction here. And I like the bricks and clicks. I think that that one also seems to be bearing up to sort of the evidence.
That's true. That's true. We've got a question that's actually come from the audience already. So, and just to make it easier, so we don't jump over each other, if anybody wants to tackle this, just maybe put your hand up, and this way we know who wants to try it. It's two parts. It's a two-part question. But how long can we expect the impact of COVID to impact small businesses, and what timelines are we looking at to get back to normal? Does anybody want to jump in on that? Rob?
Want me to take it? I'll start.
Yes, please.
Quick answer. There is no back to normal. This is the new normal, right? Like e-commerce is here to stay. Global commerce is here to stay. Like from my perspective, this has jumped in terms of the consumers online, not just in Canada, but globally. But that also allows Canadian small businesses to export to the world. Like they're watching now. Like if we have the inventory, if we have unique products, if we have things to sell, we can sell to the world now. I keep jumping to the opportunity side of things here, Paul. You're going to get in trouble. But
I love your optimism. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. Like the change is here. There is no going back to what it was before. Consumers that have realized how easy it is to shop online won't be going into the stores as much. There's still great, like the experience of going into a store can't be matched online yet, but the convenience of shopping online, of finding the hard to find things, that's not going to stay, because people have realized that, I can do this. It's safe. I can trust it. We at eBay, we spend a lot of time on trust, because intermediating, especially cross-border, that's challenging. And so we'll stand behind stuff because trust is important. But I think there is no going back to normal.
Yeah.
I'll jump in here too, Paul, just to say, like bit by bit, some things are starting to feel more normal for sure. And the government travel advisory to avoid the sort of global travel advisory that we had to avoid all non-essential travel has been lifted. It's now very specific country by country advice. Others are opening up. It's less difficult to get on a plane. So some of that activity is coming back and will come back naturally, because humans they like to be together, and there's something to that. And there's also something to, just speaking for myself, there's something to being able to try on something before I buy it. So that I don't have to send it back if it doesn't fit right, or if my daughter decides it's not her color this week. Lots of those things happen. but so there's definitely something to that in person and that personal experience for sure. But to Robert's point, I think that we, and certainly my service, like what we're looking at is how do we preserve the best parts, those COVID silver linings, the things that we learned in this space that we can do well through digital and virtual channels. So I think about some of our trade missions. When we used to send a trade mission with a minister to another country, we were really happy if we had 20 or 30 Canadian companies on board with that minister. Well, the last trade mission that Minister Ng did was to France, and we had, I don't know, 300 some odd companies. Now, all of them aren't exporting, but a lot of them were learning about exporting, thinking about it, testing the waters, seeing if that market was, is the right place for them to start. And then those that were ready and moving, ready to go, we could take those folks with us and run, and we can really do some great things. So it gave people kind of an opportunity to explore the space a little bit, and then also get into it. And maybe, the folks that were looking around will come back to us shortly. So I think we're going to have to, and we'll want to, as I said, like some of the barriers to entry were lowered, particularly for some of those folks. Like if you're a single, I mean, we're talking to small business here, you're living, breathing everything that you do all day, you're 24/7. And so for you to drop everything and take a business trip to the other side of the planet for a week at the cost and the time and everything that it's going to take, never mind if you've got a family to look after as well, those are real challenges for folks. So to be able to do that to a degree virtually, I think is invaluable. We'll want to hang on to that.
That's great.
Yeah, Paul, those are great points. Maybe to just add, I think what the pandemic has done for Canadian companies, it's leveled the playing field in terms of now Canadian companies. We used to have the behemoth, just south of us saying, how can we compete? Well, everyone's online, or not everyone, but a lot of these companies are online now. And so it's really leveled the playing field and given Canadian companies the opportunity to compete just like every other, large country that would had more resources maybe, and companies, the larger companies, not just with other countries, but with larger companies, right? Because now they can do it virtually. The companies that we've surveyed, our customers, 90% of them said that they now do at least part of their sales online. That's huge. And 15% of those have never done that before. I don't think, to Rob's point, I'm Robert, he's Rob. But just to his point, I don't think we are going back. This is a new normal. The other point I would say is that the pandemic has allowed us to diversify our markets. It used to be that 90% of our exports would go to the US. It's down now to 75 or so. I think this has accelerated the shift to open Canada up to the world, because, hey, whether you're doing it online to the US or to Europe or to Asia or South America, I think the differences are minimal. So those are other, again, we are talking about opportunities, but that is a different way of looking at things for sure.
And all your points are I think, spot on. And I mean, one of the other flagship programs that Startup has is Startup Global, that we're a part of as well too, and EDC and the Trade Commissioner Services. And we just finished wrapping that up as well. And what I've done the last couple of years on that event is really trying to educate SMBs here locally in Canada that you need to punch above your weight. You need to get outside of your comfort area, and that could be your neighborhood, it could be your province. But it's great that you're going nationally, but you got to go globally, right? I mean, we're a great nation, great to do business here, like Rob indicated, but why just focus here when you could take it elsewhere? And we've been talking about that because the government's got free trade agreements, and we've 14 of them enforced, that minimizes red tape, reduces cost with customs and other fees to get into those markets. So a lot of the things that businesses needed were in place already. It's just businesses just weren't taking that opportunity, and this really forced the hand of a lot of people, right? I mean, you're right. Those that weren't online realized, I got to get online. And many that were realized, I'm online, but it's nowhere near where it needs to be in order for me to be successful, right? So, and that's why a lot of them needed to work with, platforms like an eBay to help them expand and go global. So a lot of that stuff's been there. It's just this really forced businesses to do that. And again, Rob, you're bang on. This is a new norm, right? I mean, where we're going to eventually end up, I don't think anyone really knows, unless someone's got that crystal ball. But to think that we're going to get back to where we were prior to COVID-19, I don't think anyone thinks that's ever going to happen. So, is it a mixture of brick and mortar? I've talked to businesses. That's what they're doing. They're balancing both, right? They're trying to grow their sales, a lot of focus online, but allow their customer base the opportunity to still have that in-store experience that they need. Others are going strictly online, but making sure that they've got good returns and other things in place that allow someone to feel comfortable that, okay, I'm not touching, feeling, trying this on, but it's okay because when I get it at my home, I can do that. And if I don't like it, return it, right? So there's so much that's happening that it was in place before, but we've just seen it explode since then with COVID, which is one of the reasons why we're dealing with some of the challenge, right? The supply chain challenges, all of the backlog, is because there's just, hey, this does work. And a lot of people are trying to do it. And now that part is just trying to get caught up. But I think we're going to get there. As far as timeline, which is one of the items or one of the questions being asked, I don't know if we know, but it's promising that it seems like we're getting to what that new norm is and getting outside of this with, population being vaccinated and everyone getting ready to move forward. So great responses. Again, thank you for all of that. And I think we've touched on a lot of this already, but I just want to, again, open up to the group. With everything you've been able to share already so far, are there any other barriers that, SMEs maybe are facing when they're trying to expand online trade? And again, we've talked a lot about that, but with everything that everyone said, is there anything that's coming to mind that maybe you're saying, hey, I want to add this point as well? Sure.
Well, I think some of the things that were certainly in the report are very true, and the challenges there around information, around understanding and say labeling requirements or other kinds of, so for when a product is going global, right? I'm talking about, so understanding what kind of cross-border data transfer rules there are, what kinds of payment issues might be there, state controls or sort of non-tariff barriers, rules of origin requirements, like all that stuff's really, it can be complicated, and honestly I think for some small businesses it can be daunting. You can think, oh gosh, how can I even make a start? It's too complicated, and I don't know how to navigate it. And that's where, I mean, I've got to make a plug, and I for the Trade Commissioner Service, we and for EDC, we have tons of information, tons of supports, tons of online. Just Google, if you Google Canada Export, you'll get our page there, and we link up to all the supports that are out there that will help guide you through, like, step by step, what you need to know to export and who to contact, because people can do it. They need the confidence to know that it's possible and it's doable and all these things. But I know that the list of things, thinking about your IP, thinking about your customs and movement, you guys help with that, but we're all here to help with these supports and make it possible, and folks need to know that it is possible, that it can be done, and even by the smallest of small businesses.
And Sarah, just to add to that, and again, a plug for the TCS, but I think a lot of businesses still don't recognize that you've actually got, boots on the ground, right? I mean, is it 160 cities? Do I have the right number?
I have more than 1,200 people in 160 locations around the world and across Canada. We've got offices all across the country, and we've got great web presence and all kinds of information and tools out there. But just give us a call, and we're free. You don't have to pay. Your taxes have already covered it. We're good.
That's good. Does anyone else want to jump in on this question as well?
Well, I was just going to add, Paul. So I totally agree with Sarah. A lot of the regulatory challenges and everything. I mean, Sarah listed them all, and I do agree that there are services out there. Trade Commissioner Service does a great job of helping Canadian companies navigate. We work very closely with Trade Commissioner Service. We have offices around the world as well, co-located, most of them, with the Trade Commissioner Service. Also online, myedc.ca. There are tools like Company Insights, where you can learn about the company you're dealing with. Just do a bit of research on that. Company Enlist, various suppliers, UPS being one of them. So how do you navigate that? And it can be challenging. What we're trying to do on the Crown side and government side is, how do we work better together, like to serve Canadian companies, so we can cross refer, and so we're not sending people to 3 different places. And that's something that we're working on with Trade Commissioner Service, with our other Crown partners, as well as the private sector, to say we're building a trade ecosystem for Canadian companies. We're all in this together. So I would encourage you to go online and see what's there, and call, as Sarah said, Trade Commissioner Service, because the services are out there.
Perfect. That's great. And I know we touched on some opportunities and some solutions already there, but let's officially leave the challenges behind, because I think we've exhausted that part. And I want to dive in a little bit more and focus more on specifically solutions that we can offer. So, Sarah, if it's all right, I want to come back to you. I guess I'd like you to share with the audience is what is needed for recovery. I guess at this point, what do people need to start thinking as they start heading down this path where COVID is behind us?
Yeah. So we need more people exporting. We need more people. That's what we need.
I'm
We
good
need
with
to.
that.
We got to tap into those global markets. There are, you said it. We have 14 FTAs in force. With a whole range of partners. We're the only G7 country with FTAs with every other G7 country. But beyond that, we've got basically unfettered access to kind of 1.5 billion customers around the world, and that's just the FTAs. There's business can be done without that too, but we're not making enough use of those FTAs. So again, we've got some tools that will help folks to we call them market finder. So where we have competitive advantages and where some of the tariffs have come down, and where we can sort of help people figure out where's the best place for them to start. But we need to make better use of our FTAs. We need to get more people, more different types of folks trading. We're thinking about diversification in the broadest sense. So when I think diversification, and we talked about, I think I'm going to get it wrong. It's Robert. I think it was Rob talked about, the idea that in the past we used to send 80, +% of our exports to the United States. And for sure, like I served in the South Central United States as the Consul General in Dallas, Texas for 3 years. So I can tell you, market there is awesome. It's huge. It's dynamic. It's very easily understandable. And certainly the U.S. is a great place to start, for sure, for many people. But then we need people to go beyond, go and kill it in the States and be amazing, and then move on and keep and move out and keep going, because there's a big wide world out there. So diversification for sure is a big piece, but diversification not just of where we're exporting, what we're exporting, how we're exporting. And today, e-commerce channels, that's what we're talking about, and who is exporting. And again, I want to see more women, SMEs, Indigenous entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs, LGBTQ2 plus entrepreneurs, all kinds of them. And there are loads of different great diversity channels and programs out there to access. Again, my team can help find those, because sometimes with a certification, your access is to you have better access to some of the programs for diversity, for supplier diversity, particularly in the United States. So there's lots of really cool ways to go about this, and the team is certainly there to help. In terms of what my team is doing, we've got a number of tools in place on intellectual property. We've got a partnership going with the Canadian Intellectual Property Office so that we can help people understand what those risks are and how to mitigate them. We're working with a lot of private sector players. Our friends at eBay, of course, Amazon, Shopify, Alibaba. Sorry, Robert. But all the channels, right? And try to help more companies, Canadian companies, get online. And so we've got special relationships developing with some of them. We want people to be thinking about their risks, so upfront too, things like cyber and security, and Canada has fantastic pay tech and fintech solutions as well. So people should be making sure to bring those in. And then I should also mention that we have a program in the TCS. It's a funding program, co-funding, called CanExport SMEs, and they adapted their services in the face of the pandemic. We changed because we weren't traveling. It used to fund people to go and travel to new markets to explore them. We now are doing that again, given that the global travel advisory has been changed. But during the pandemic, we shifted to being able to fund a lot more online activity, like search engine optimization, like expert advice for digital and e-commerce marketing, for social media platforms, and all kinds of other things. So really, really neat opportunities, I think.
That's great, and you've covered a lot for us there, and I like the way you started, just more exporting, because again, couldn't agree with you more. I mean, again, when we have the opportunity to talk to businesses, we, as daunting as it might seem, and I can understand if you haven't, considered it before and you're just starting to export, but the opportunities and the reasons why. I mean, there's so much data. I mean, businesses that export hire more employees, pay higher wages, they higher success rate, faster growth. If you've got certain line products that you've exhausted in the market, you can now take those same products into new markets. I mean, we could spend an entire panel, right, Sarah, just talking about all the reasons why. So I'm glad that you've shared a lot of the key aspects, but it really is all focused around expanding your opportunities and where you go. Robert, I want to come to you now. So let me take a step back. One of the top issues that we've heard, UPS, from our survey, and I think that everyone else has heard, in fact, we heard it at the beginning of our talk, is a lack of cash flow, right? So that's a big challenge. So what are some of the financial solutions that exist to help address some of the cash flow barriers that companies are facing that EDC can offer?
Sure. Actually, before I get there, just maybe I wanted to touch on something Sarah said as well, because going to the US and then going global, I think a lot of these e-commerce companies are born global, and that's the advantage of e-commerce as well, because they don't feel like, well, I'm going to try this in the US and then I'll go. I mean, funny story. I've been at EDC a while, and when we would survey companies, we'd ask them, "Are you exporting?" They say, "No, I'm just going to the US." So just because they would think that it's so domestic, but now companies are born global, and they can attract latent talent if you're exporting. You mentioned the higher profits, but also being able to attract talent in this day and age, that's a huge competitive advantage. So sorry, I just want to get that in, but in terms of financial solutions, so I'll give you a couple that exist at EDC, and then some of our partners as well. I mean, Sarah just mentioned CanExport. It's a phenomenal program. We refer many companies to that. It's really, really great to get your business going, and market entry, phenomenal. In terms of EDC, we have our flagship credit insurance program. So it's about protecting your receivables. You're selling abroad. You don't know who you're selling to. You don't know the buyer as well. But we'll insure your receivables up to 90% if you don't get paid from your buyer. So that's credit insurance. You can call us. You can call your commercial insurer, or even insurance brokers who are out there that we do business with. So that's one. In the insurance space as well, but it's actually more and more suppliers are asking for upfront payments now, and you're probably seeing that as well. They're asking for upfront payments, and you say, "Well, I got to pay my supplier, but I'm not paid yet." Well, we'll insure those payments. If ever you make those payments, you never get the goods, you have an insurance of 90% up to that. And the neat thing about insurance, you think, well, it's insurance. But the neat thing about that is your financial institution will probably give you more money as a result of you having the insurance. It'll help free up cash flow or your working capital, because banks will recognize, well, if you're insured, I can give you more money because that money's not tied up, because I know you'll get paid if anything goes wrong. So, people think insurance is just one-sided, but there's the financial working capital aspect to it as well. And then we have a guarantee program with most financial institutions that we will guarantee the loans that they make to you for operating loans, term loans, and so banks will be more inclined and to lend more money to small businesses because they know they have the EDC guarantee. And that's kind of some of the things that EDC has. But a lot of our partners, we mentioned CanExport, our sister Crown Business Development Bank of Canada has really great small business loans, tech loans. Really look, BDC.ca, look into that. Some of our private partners, so Shopify has a merchant cash advance program. So they'll give from $200,000 to $500,000 so that you can buy and fund your business. And then the way you pay them back is as you get your online sales, you slowly, a part of that goes back to them. So it's a really good way to start up the business and not have to be tied up with your capital, that you can pay it off as you go. So that's another great program there. So there are many things out there, but those are just a sampling of some of what exists out there.
Perfect. Okay, for this next question, I want to come to you, Rob, with this one, but I'm going to pose the question, if you don't mind. I'll jump in first with some UPS examples and give you an opportunity to think of maybe some additional points you want to add. But what can companies like UPS, like eBay, and obviously other supporting organizations, what can they do to help solve challenges and hurdles that we've identified earlier? So from a UPS perspective, on the onset of COVID, we realized that SMBs, being the backbone of almost any economy around the world, we wanted to see what we could do as an organization to support them more. So, I mean, it started with us lowering rates and offering them further incentives to reduce their cost as much as we can. I've got a team of what we call small business ambassadors that actually helps onboard, because the one thing we recognize with small businesses, and I know that eBay tries to resolve this problem too with your platform, is they wear so many hats, right? And ultimately what they want to do is focus on their business and grow their sales. But now they got to worry about, customs and shipping labels and packaging requirements and how do I get these and all this other stuff, right? So the team of ambassadors that we've got, they actually, when you open up an account with you, they call you. They're not salespeople. They're people to help onboard, ask your questions. So in our space that we know well, we're there to help hold your hand, because we realize you're got too many other things to focus on. And then the third thing that I'll add is we've actually got a dedicated e-fulfillment solution for small businesses, because one of the challenges that I did hear earlier today was just labor shortages, right? With everything happening, people being concerned about their health, staying home, and then from a supply perspective, needing more people to ship and move products, that became a problem. And then, of course, a lot of businesses with shutdowns, right? I mean, we had shutdowns, not just global, but within Canada by province, different periods of time where businesses were forced to shut down. Well, if you're forced to shut down, how do I get my products out? So we have a dedicated e-fulfillment solution that we offer to small businesses, so that, if you're starting off and you got one product, one SKU, and you just don't want to deal with that headache, we can actually fulfill that for you. So the good thing is, UPS being recognized as an essential service, we were not shut down. So I know many businesses that have utilized our services where, unfortunately, they had to shut down their warehouses and their businesses, but they were able to keep their online services going. And as orders were coming in, they were coming into us and we were getting them out to their customers as well. So those are some examples, but I'd love to hear from you as to additional ones that you're aware of that in general or that eBay is offering.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Paul. I'll answer that question with a couple of examples. And then I want to round it out too with something I think the four of us might, or three, some of us might tackle in order to take it a step further. So in terms of what eBay did when the pandemic hit, it's in our purpose statement to empower people and create economic opportunity. That's why we come in. Mm-hmm. And we saw so many small businesses having to close down, shut their doors. They were used to customers coming in the door. So we said, how can we help? We set up an up and running program that, cash was an issue, So let's park their fees, the delay fees for a while. We gave free store subscriptions out, and that was helping with the financial side of things. But also the complexity of, oh, how do I sell online? How do I do this? How do I, customs, etc. One, it's not as complicated as people might think. But we set up a seller school, just simple modules, quick modules that small businesses could go through. And every business is different. So we had to enable it to be simple enough. If you're just starting selling online, how do you do that? But then also have more exhaustive, like if you're setting up, integrations with your inventory platform and somebody else's inventory platform, how do you do that? So we set up this up and running program. The other thing we did was partnered with organizations. So like Sarah, you talked about Shopify, and Google, and we were a part of the Digital Main Street program, where Digital Main Street was helping all these small businesses go online, and eBay made sense as the global marketplace. So set up your website with Shopify, and then we have an integration with eBay, because eBay provides a global marketplace to 190 countries. So that's how you sell to the world. And it was through cooperation and things like this, or like the Canadian Council of Aboriginal Business, or the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, like all these partnerships, which is, what are you guys doing? How can we help? What can we do together to help Canadian small businesses out? And I think eBay played that role of the export champion in many ways, because it was also easy. Like Sarah and Robert, to your points, I think small businesses somewhat get intimidated, but at least with our platform, they could just try, just put up one product, and you can set your preferences. Like, oh, I'm nervous to ship it to, Tanzania, but I'll just set my preferences so it goes to the United States. Or then you expand, you go US, UK, Australia, and then you expand even more as you start to feel more and more comfortable. But people found it was easy. And so that's my overall call to action. Just get out there and try, whether, I don't care who it is, whether it's eBay or Alibaba, just try exporting, because it's easy. I think people get intimidated. It's easier than people might think. If you you saw all the resources that, all three of us have, all four of us really have to help out. So just try. That's overall. Now, the more provocative one that I might connect Sarah and Robert with you on later, one of the challenges now that it is more of a global, competitive, dynamic marketplace is, how do we help create an opportunity for Canadians when it comes to shipping? And I know, Paul, you've got, shipping globally, but I think there's maybe an opportunity for us to talk with the government and with Canada Post, because competitively, from a global perspective, let's just say, I like to be positive, but we have an opportunity to help improve the competitive dynamics for Canadian small businesses. Because right now, if there's a German buyer looking at a product on eBay in the US or in Canada, quite often they're going to be picking the US because the postal is cheaper. So I'm planting a seed, and we'll have further conversations on that. But Paul, you asked about what are the challenges that we need to look forward on. And so being a bit provocative, but I think there's opportunity there too. I think Canadian small businesses are amazing. And for so many reasons, like Canadian Indigenous art is hot in Germany right now on eBay. Like, there's random little pockets, like Sarah, you were talking, and there's opportunities for us, but we need to eliminate some of the barriers at the same time and put Canada at a competitive advantage as opposed to a disadvantage on the global marketplace.
Wow. You know what? I wish we had a lot more time than we do. And I'm looking at the time. We had to actually start wrapping up. But what I want to do is at least touch, and we have luckily touched on opportunities, but let's just shift our focus to that area specifically so we can wrap up here. I want to share that at UPS, we're proud of our current SMB campaign that is focused around being unstoppable. And here in Canada, we've actually communicated with SMBs that the comeback is always stronger than the setback. And we've really been trying to push that message out, and with the optimism that I'm hearing from all of you. So what I'd like to hear from each of you is your thoughts, and maybe Sarah, we can start with you first, but where are we seeing more activity regionally in Canada as it relates to trade? And then I'd like to hear from both Rob and Robert as to their thoughts from opportunities in general.
So thanks, and I'll be brief because I know we're up
Yeah.
against it. Let me just say on the whole supply chain and on those corridors out, we absolutely hear you. Conversations already started with transport, with Canada Post. I've spoken to them with some of the airports and port facilities, and everybody's conscious that we, in order to meet this demand and really support the exporters, we've got to make sure that the corridors are working and that infrastructure piece is in place. And it's tough. We got to keep working on that. So yes, thanks for the plug. Let's keep talking on it. In terms of what we're seeing, I mean, everywhere, people are exporting from everywhere across the country. There's a concentration for sure in Quebec and Ontario and BC. Alberta is very active. All across the prairies, and it really depends on the market, and it depends on what's being offered and to where. So we're seeing obviously a lot of interest and fast growth in life sciences and clean technologies, and but of course on the sort of e-commerce side, the full range of consumer products, home furnishings, jewelry, handicrafts, fashion apparel. All kinds of health products and sort of cosmetics and things like that. Just really, really cool to see everybody sort of food, all kinds of things. Really, really, sort of capturing the imagination of folks around the world. And Canada, I couldn't agree more, has so much to offer, and we have such a great brand. We are trusted. We are known. People think that when they think of Canada, they think clean, healthy, all those good feelings and so on, and we can really build off of that and that trusted tech. We're known for all of this, so it's great. I think we've got great opportunity.
That's great. How about I'll turn it over to Robert, and then we'll wrap up with Rob.
Sure. So I'll be quick. I love what Sarah said. Our brand. We need to leverage our brand. I've traveled around the world. I did a stint at Trade Commissioner Service. We have a great brand. We need to leverage that. Canada, the maple leaf means something, not only to us, but around the world. So I won't belabor that. The only other point I say is related to that is ESG. You'll hear a lot more. Obviously, you're hearing about environmental, social governance. I think we need to leverage that sustainability. Think about your product and how is it sustainable? How is it feeding into the, making the world a better place, a greener place? Thinking about human rights. So, what are the things that you can do with your product to make sure that you're not, I wouldn't say capitalizing, but just making sure that the ESG is top of mind, because sustainability is something that more and more buyers and big buyers will be looking at, and the markets will be looking at. So I think we're in good position to leverage that as well.
Perfect. Rob.
Quick, to any small business entrepreneur out there, start exporting. That's it. Just start. It's easier than you might think. Use eBay, use whatever platform you have, but just start. And you're an entrepreneur. Like, you learn by doing. Like, just do it. Right? There you go. That's my thing. Just do it. I've heard it somewhere before, I think, but we'll go with that.
Wow. Look, we probably could spend another hour, but unfortunately, this does conclude today's panel discussion. I want to thank all of you for your insight and advice. It has been my pleasure hearing from each of you, and I think I speak on behalf of all our listeners that it's been very informative. I mean, I've taken notes of some items that I'm definitely going to be using in the future. Break and clicks, stay local, go global, COVID silver linings, and then of course the Canada brand as well too. And absolutely, we as Canadians do not beat our chest enough, and we need to be proud and start doing that a lot more often, and hopefully we will. Now, while the challenges for international commerce are real, we can see that the opportunity for growth has never been better. So just as SMBs have and will get used to the shift to manage global online sales over the last few years, many more consumers have already made their shift, as we're all aware, like us, to purchasing items online that they may not have considered purchasing that way before. In fact, personally, I had to make space on my porch just so packages can be left. So I think we've all experienced that in one way or the other. The UPS survey responses made it clear that many SMBs needed to pivot rapidly from brick and mortar only operations to incorporating online sales. Now, while this quick shift presented challenges in the short term, it has also presented opportunity for governments and partners like eBay and UPS to help advance e-commerce activities for SMBs, which could contribute to greater economic resilience, hopefully competitiveness, and increased revenues in the long term. So remember that you're not alone, and there's a lot of places you can get help. So I want to thank you for joining us today. Take care and be safe. And at this point, I'll turn it back to Kayla.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you to our incredible panelists. Agreed. Our entire team is taking notes vigorously, and the comment function is asking for all these resources. So we will follow up with some of those. I think it's really incredible to see all of our panelists here today with representation from government, from Crown Corps, from private sectors, from nonprofits like Startup Canada. I think this is such a beautiful illustration of the power of partnerships and how entrepreneurs really do have an ecosystem supporting them from behind, trying to help them navigate these different challenges. And it's just so encouraging to see this type of collaboration every single day across our partnership network. So thank you, panelists, for your continued support of Canada's entrepreneurship ecosystem. We would also like to thank our other partners today. And you know that I speak quickly, so I'll run through these, everyone, because I know we're at time. Thank you to our key ecosystem partners, UPS and Intuit QuickBooks. Paul, beautiful job moderating today's session, as always, in your Startup Canada red. Our national partners, MasterCard, BDC, and the Trade Commissioner Service. Community partners, Scotiabank, Google, NACA, and the Village Hive. And our event partner, Magnet. To all of the entrepreneurs listening here today, we also have a very exciting opportunity from Magnet called the Magnet Student Work Placement Program, which provides employers with wage subsidies to hire post-secondary students for paid work experiences. Through the Outcome Campus Connect, employers can apply for the subsidies and connect with over 1 million student accounts from over 100 post-secondary schools across Canada, all completely for free. You can visit swpp.magnet.today. Once again, thank you so much for attending today's event, everyone. We hope you have a terrific day. And I'll end us on this note that, at Startup Canada, we say new businesses are born every single day. They're just like babies. And now we're seeing businesses born globally with EDC's comment there as well. So it is incredible to see so many entrepreneurs navigate these export markets, scale these incredible businesses, and really put Canadian business on the global stage. We're here to support you. Have a great day, everyone.